Next, we have our featured guest, Beth Carrigg, and Beth's going to navigate the trail up to the front. So, Beth, I know this last time you were here, you gave us an overview of the office. We'll give us a lot of details this time of what your office actually does, even about passports and all these other things that we learned. You know, it's amazing how much I've learned about the inner workings of Lexington County because of some of these things.
We actually do a lot of work in Lexington County, and I appreciate you indulging me this morning and having me back. I'm going to take a little bit of time this morning. I'm going to clarify a few things that, some information that you were given last week, and then I'm going to expand on a little bit more information for you. I'm going to educate everybody about the Clerk of Court's office, because not everybody knows very much about the Clerk of Court's office. I'm a down ballot election, a down ballot race, and everybody says, oh, the Clerk of Court's office. What do they actually do? I know that they're at the courthouse, but unless you have business at the courthouse, you don't really know what that office does. So I want to clarify a few things, and then I'm going to tell you an awful lot about my office, and I even brought props. So you're going to get a whole lot of information.
Folks, for those of you who don't know, who weren't here last time, Beth is the Clerk of Court for Lexington County. So let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I'm not here to impugn anybody's integrity. I'm going to start off by saying that, but I think everybody needs to know the facts. There are some candidates, people that are running for this office, and I think that you need to be qualified to be the Clerk of Court in Lexington County. Last week there were some allegations made and some misinformation that was given. The person that spoke to you last week implied that she was a school teacher and an educator. That information is absolutely invalid, and she has a 2-year degree. She does not have a school teacher certificate. She never taught school in Virginia, and that information is available for review, and the documentation is available for review. Here's the information from the University of South Carolina where she received a 2-year degree in the 70s, and here's a letter from the Commonwealth of Virginia that states she was never employed there. I think it's important to understand, if you are going to certify that you're someone and you've done something, that you are accurate in the information that you provide. Second of all, I want to make sure everybody's clear that I do have a degree. I did attend the University of South Carolina. I even brought my transcripts and where I graduated from the University of South Carolina, because all I did was study law for 4 years. That's what I did. Now, I don't have a law degree, but certainly all I did was take law classes at the University of South Carolina, and that's all I've done for 20 years. I brought my resume because for the last 20 years, all I've done is work for law firms and be the Clerk of Court. I have an abundance of experience with the law, and I think that's necessary. Unless you're going to be an attorney to run the courthouse, you need to have a factual basis for what you're doing. So let's talk about the Clerk of Court and what we do there. The Clerk of Court's office is the keeper of the records, and we keep the records for every lawsuit that's ever filed in Lexington County, whether it's common pleas, family court, or general sessions. And general sessions is criminal court. We keep the records for probate court. We keep the records for liens that are filed in the courthouse. We keep juvenile records. We keep adoption records. We actually schedule the docket for family court and for common pleas, which is civil court. General sessions is run by the solicitor. That's our job. We schedule the dockets for the family court judges every week, week by week, the year that goes by. We handle all those records. I handle all the foreclosure documents. I actually sign off on those for the master in equity in Lexington County. That is a huge responsibility when you take someone's life in your hands, when they're getting ready to lose their home. And I have hundreds that come across my desk every week, and it's only gotten worse when the economy has come down. Now, I'll tell you, there are a lot that I just don't sign. I review each and every one of those documents before I put my signature on it, because that's your life. That's your livelihood. And I don't know if you remember or not, but a year ago, when the banks were just signing off on those in bulks and people were losing their houses and the banks were making a lot of mistakes, there were stacks that sat on my desk like this, and I just refused to sign them until I had an order from the Chief Justice. In fact, I had some disagreements with the judges about them, but they sat on my desk, and some of those were recalled because it's important. Everything we do at the courthouse affects someone's life every day. People go to jail, people are adopting children, people are paying child support. It affects every decision we make there affects someone's life. Now, when I ran for the clerk of court's office in 2004, I made some promises, and I've kept every one of them. I said that I was going to increase child support collections, and I said I was going to implement a child support debit card. There wasn't one in Lexington County. In fact, there wasn't one in the state. When I took over in 2005, many of you may remember and some of you may not, but I moved my bank accounts from BB&T to MBSC. And I had quite a little tiff with Lexington County Council. My husband was a member at that time, but I had quite a little tiff with them, and they were upset with me because I moved my bank accounts. But it was important because BB&T, I wouldn't say they couldn't provide the services I wanted, but they didn't want to provide the services I wanted because Lexington County had just entered into a banking contract with them, and the services I wanted wasn't part of that agreement. And they didn't want to provide those services. So I went to a bank that would provide them. I spent $8,000 of my own money because I hired my own lawyers. Kirk Morgan, in fact, was just named the #1 litigator in Lexington County this year. $8,000 out of my own pocket to fight what I thought was an important issue in Lexington County. After months and months, we sat down and negotiated with BB&T. They agreed to provide the services. I agreed that it wasn't worth the continued fight. I moved the bank accounts back to BB&T, and the debit card was founded in Lexington County. We don't write checks anymore, and it saved the taxpayers a lot of money. And I'm going to tell you how much money it saved the taxpayers. We saved the taxpayers $60,000 in postage every year. Just in postage every year, because we don't mail out checks anymore. $60,000 a year over 8 years, the 2 terms I've been in office, is $500,000. Now you, on top of that, the manpower, not to cut the checks themselves, not to stuff the envelopes, not to correlate the checks to send them out, is about another $500,000 over 8 years. That's $1 million that my administration has saved the taxpayers of Lexington County over 8 years. Off of my $8,000 that I spent out of my own pocket because it was important, because I made a promise to the taxpayers that that's what I wanted to do. I said I was going to increase child support in Lexington County, and that's what I did. Since 2004, when I took over, the collection of child support in Lexington County was $14,964,000. In 2011, we collected $17 million. That's a little more than $2 million every year that we've increased child support collections in Lexington County. The way that happens is that my staff and I went in and we reviewed and audited every child support case in Lexington County. And there are thousands of them. And you have to audit them. And we issue the rules of show causes, and we issue the bench warrants for the judge to sign, and they go to the sheriff's department. My predecessor chose not to have a relationship with the sheriff's department. He had a private process server, and that was not a very successful program. We chose to make a successful program, and we chose to partner with the sheriff's department, and the Fugitive Task Force was born. When the Fugitive Task Force was born, we implemented Operation Stocking Stuffer and Operation Last Chance. In 2008 alone, Operation Stocking Stuffer, for 30 days, we apprehended 127 persons. We concentrated on people who owed $10,000 or more this year. We apprehended 127 persons who owed more than $10,000 in child support. And we arrested people that owed $1.9 million in child support.
Beth, can you interrupt just a second? Dave, is there somebody out there? Folks, everybody look outside. There's a car out there.
He's moved. He's moved when I moved the blinds down.
No, he's sitting right here.
Just a
Are
truck.
we being paranoid here or
Guy
what's
get
going
down. I
on?
think you're being
Like,
paranoid.
I'm not being paranoid, I'm being cautious.
Okay, all right, I understand. I just
What
thought
you
that-
got?
Somebody, he moved up.
Looks like a 19, 20-year-old, 21.
Okay. All right, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, I just saw
You
the.
don't want to miss them.
You know, we're not really a mafia, right?
He gets
Don't
his
tell
attention, that's all.
anybody, Cory.
And I left my gun at home this morning.
Oh, I got it.
In 30 days, we collected we arrested people or apprehended people that owed $1.9 million in child support. Operation, and this was our 6th successful year in that. This is my 8th year in office. In Operation Last Chance in May, this is an opportunity for individuals to come in without the police kicking in your doors and make arrangements with the clerk of court's office to settle up your debt or make payment arrangements so you don't have to go to jail. 50 people made arrangements to settle up $435,000 worth of child support this year in 2011. We are making changes. We are doing good things at the clerk of court's office. On top of that, I told him, I said, we've got to save the taxpayers some money, some more money. I reduced my operating budget since 2005 by more than 35%. Here are the numbers. 35%. I reduced my operating budget. That's taxpayers' dollars that we've reduced. We haven't added any staff, and we certainly haven't reduced any cases that we're handling. That's what the clerk of court's office is doing for the taxpayers. I've kept my promises. I've worked hard, and I want to continue to work hard. We have a new case management system, a child support case management system that's set to deploy in 2013 that I understand I'm not really supposed to know anything about, but I've worked on it for 2 years, and I've got another year's worth of work before it deploys. And we've been working with the state and the county Department of Social Services and the Judicial Department. We are in the middle of a banking RFP right now. Part of our movement to save the taxpayers more money is that when the state case management system deploys in Lexington County, all the child support payments will be made at one central location. A bank out of New York won the RFP for this service, so all of Lexington County taxpayers' money would go through this bank in New York. Marcia and I have been working diligently. We've narrowed it down to 3 banks because there is one type of account that would converge with this new program, child support case management program. And we've narrowed down 3 banks that would give our citizens a bank account, even non-credit worthy citizens, a bank account that would converge with this new child support case management system, that would keep all of our local taxpayers' dollars in a local bank in Lexington, South Carolina. Good point. So maybe I'm not in the office every day. I certainly wasn't in the office every day last week because I was at the administration building interviewing 3 banks to try to keep Lexington County taxpayer dollars in Lexington County. But I'm working. I'm working for Lexington County. That's what I'm doing. Happy to take any questions.
I have a question. How much in incarceration is all the people that can't pay child support? I know if the fellow that lives next door to me, he's 3 payments behind right now without a job. So I'm wondering what the cost factor is for the incarceration for all those people that couldn't make the money for paying child support with dollars.
Non-violent offenders, it costs the taxpayers of Lexington County $60 a day to house an inmate. However, with that said, we don't just throw people in jail. We do not just throw people in jail because they can't pay child support payments. If you're unemployed, if you don't have a job, you don't have a way to make payments, we work it out with you. We bring you in, we make arrangements. You can fill out pro se paperwork for a child support reduction. There are all types of ways. People that do go to jail right now, there are work release programs. People work throughout the county. They go to work for other companies to pay their child support payments. We don't just go out and apprehend people and throw them in the jail for the sake of throwing them in jail. Because I don't want to cost you money. I know it costs $60 a day. I'm on the jail overcrowding committee. Believe me, I know what it costs. And that is one more thing. I want to say one more thing because there was an allegation made that I spent money on a couch. You know what? No, I did spend money on a couch. I did spend money on a couch for a judge who is 87 years old. He is the longest serving judge in the state of South Carolina. His wife died February of last year. He's on his 2nd bout of cancer. and was going through chemotherapy treatments. He came to Lexington County to spend 14 weeks in Lexington County. He was on the bench every day at 9:15 in the morning. He worked till 5:30 or 6 o'clock every afternoon. And because of the chemotherapy treatments, he had fluid on his lungs, which he had to have removed by needle treatment once a week. He ate lunch in the courthouse and had to lay down for 45 minutes to an hour every day. But every day he got on the bench, he reduced our jail overcrowding by 25 to 30 cases every day. And by reducing, I mean he bonded people out, or he took pleas which sent them to SCDC and got them out of Lexington County Detention Center. Now 25 cases a day over 14 weeks at $60 a day saved the county, the taxpayers, $100,000. I spent $300 on a couch at the Big Lots for a man to lay on the couch and take a rest for an hour every day so he could save the taxpayers $100,000. Did I do it? Yes, I did do it, and I'll defend it to the end of the day. I'll defend it every week.
All right.
And because that's my job, to protect you, to protect my judges, and to make sure that we're doing what's appropriate in the Lexington County Courthouse. Yes, sir. You had a question for me?
Thanks, Doc.
All right, hang on.
I got it going now. But, yeah, my question was, you're talking about child support, and I realize this guy could have just been telling me this, but I happened to be over at the voter registration office in Lexington, and somebody that works there said, hey, Eddie, you need to come speak to this guy. And there was a guy there, he was I guess a parolee from the county. He was working, he's in jail, but he works during the day over there. And he told me that he did construction work. He said, I think he told me for 17 straight years he paid child support.
Okay.
And he lost his construction job. He got $400 behind. He got picked up, put in jail. And that's why he was in jail, because he was $400 behind on child support. He said he never missed a payment for 17 years. Now, he could have very well been lying to me, but I'm just letting you know.
Well, let me tell you this. That is unlikely, and I will tell you why that is unlikely. That's something else I want to tell you about. We have 3 judges, 3 family court judges for 4 counties. We are the 11th Judicial Circuit. That's Lexington, McCormick, Edgefield, and Saluda. 4 counties, 3 family court judges to hear all of our family court issues. Now that's divorce, that's temporaries, that's juvenile cases, that's DSS, that's everything we hear, adoptions, that's everything we hear in family court. So imagine, we only have court from 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon, 5 days a week, in 4 counties with 3 judges. Our jail is only so big, and we're already overcrowded.
Yeah.
So imagine that our judges are not going to put somebody in jail unless they are a repeat offender. And I mean a habitual repeat offender. For $400, that is not. We have people walking the streets that owe $3,000. And if they have a legitimate reason why they have not paid their child support and they've made any attempt at all to make payments and support their children, they give them every opportunity to go home, because they have to answer to the taxpayer too. They are not going to put somebody in jail at $60 a day when the jail is busting at the seams for $400 and he's never missed a payment. That is, I can assure you that that did not happen.
Well, my follow-up on that, that's not related to child support, is that I continually hear of prisoners they're locked in the Lexington County prison. They've been there for 3 and 4 years and have yet to even see a judge.
Well, okay, let's talk about that. We have 2 resident circuit judges, Judge McMahon and Judge Keesley. Judge Keesley's from Edgefield, Judge McMahon is from Lexington County. Again, the 11th Judicial Circuit, we have 4 counties, we have 2 circuit judges.
So why do you hold somebody in jail? Suppose they're innocent. They're sitting in jail 3 and 4 years based off.
Who's going to hear the case?
That's not the prisoner's responsibility. That's either yours
Okay, it's not mine.
or the judicial system.
It's not mine.
Or
It's the
somebody's
judicial
solicitor or
system.
somebody's.
It's the judicial system, and it is the legislature, and it is court administration get together, and based on a census of how many cases we have per capita in the county, that's how many judges we get to hear the cases.
Terry Starkey
Hang on a second, Terry Stark has a question.
Well, I think we have to clarify. I believe that's happening in the criminal side.
Yeah.
And that is run by the solicitor's office.
Well, it is run by the
That's not
solicitor's
family.
office, but I'm just saying, you have to understand that we have 2 judges for 4 counties. Now, like Judge Cottingham, I just told you, is 87 years old, a retired active judge. They sent him in for, 14 weeks. I'd have to go back and look. It was more than 3 months. It was June, July, and August, and I think 2 weeks in September to help with the overcrowding, to reduce the backlog. And what I was saying about pleas is, or bond hearings, is they wanted to reduce the jail overcrowding in Lexington County. That means that for all of those weeks, they had prisoners that just filed in every day for either bond reduction so they could get out, hearings, or pleas, which means they pled and they either got out on probation or they went to SCDC because they pled to criminal charges and went on to SCDC and got out of Lexington County, or they got out on a bond reduction, or they got out on bond, period, to await a trial. That's what they sent him for.
Ross, you have a question? Yes or no?
But we only have 2 judges in Lexington County. Now, Charleston has 5. Spartanburg has 6. Richland has 5. Lexington has 2.
What do we have to do to get more?
You have to talk to your legislators. Talk to your legislators. Not to put Ryan on the spot, but you have to talk to your legislators. And he will tell you that I am telling the truth.
But
We need
people,
less law.
people have the right to a speedy trial.
Certainly do by law.
Hang on a second, Senator Combs has.
No, I was just gonna say, and we will do that. We'll raise your taxes and we will.
No, we won't.
No.
It's law.
No,
I'm-
repeal some laws.
If somebody
We got too many laws on
legitimately went out and hurt somebody, robbed somebody, killed somebody, trespassed somebody's property, they need to be in jail. But they don't need to be in jail until they've had a trial, they've been proven that they're guilty. You can't have people sitting in jail 2, 3, and 4 years, not even a trial.
We'd have
That
to
is
go
about
back
as
to-
unconstitutional as you can
And Mr.
get.
McCain, we'd have to go back and see, and I'm not taking up for Beth, and I'm not beating her up, I'm just saying, you gotta go back and look at the facts, and I don't know those facts. But it may be that, the defense attorney said, I can't help, let me tell you, I appoint magistrates. And, the magistrates I had in Newberry County, whenever, I got into this position, they had like 440 cases backlogged. Now
Well,
they've got 30 now that are on the dockets to be heard over the next month. So they've cleaned them up. But what happens a lot of times is the lawyer for that person will say, I can't do it on that date, we're gonna have to postpone it. So it gets postponed.
And that is true. That is very true. There are a lot of times when we are set for hearings. There's a bond hearing, there is a trial date set, and there's a conflict. One or the other has a conflict, and it gets continued, and it gets continued, and it gets continued. It doesn't have anything to do with the defendant itself. It has to do with the attorneys on both sides, and it gets continued, and it may get continued for a year or 2. It has nothing to do with the judicial system itself.
Well, suppose it was your son sitting in Lexington County.
And I have a son, and my son is a probation officer, and I understand the judicial system from start to finish. If it were my son, I would be very upset. I'm not saying it's fair, I'm trying to explain to you how it works.
Well, I think we can continue that line of conversation for a while, but Ross Snell
Yeah.
away for a while.
Eddie, in response to what you're talking about, Donnie Myers calls these cases when he prepares, somebody's locked up in jail and he investigates. He's got all the investigators, the sheriff, and everybody follows his lead when it comes to trying to gather evidence for somebody to go to trial. When Donnie gets the evidence ready, then the solicitor's office goes to trial in that case. If it's a bond hearing or whatever else, true, courts have a hierarchy, so if an attorney books up in a higher court, then that higher court takes precedence, so then that's where that's continued. But sometimes these people sit in jail a long time waiting on the solicitor's office and investigators and.
Why were they arrested if they didn't have all of their ducks in a row?
Well, it's kind of like if they go to there's a shooting and you go and what, there you stand with guns and they arrest you, that may not be all the evidence.
Just because I'm standing there with a gun doesn't mean I shot anybody.
Exactly, that's why they have to investigate.
Okay, right, but my point is if you haven't investigated, you don't have your evidence ready, why are you arresting people?
Talk to Donnie Myers.
Hey, I don't wanna hear about Donnie Myers, cause I ain't got a bit of use for him. $30,000 worth of paperwork I had on a property that a guy was supposed to build something for me, didn't do it, had a contract and everything, I submitted to Donnie Myers, and they refused to prosecute him, and I had to go to get a lien against the fellow, which is not worth his papers at all. Donnie Myers, as far as I go, need to be out of office.
Well, Donnie Myers, if y'all go in a grocery store or any store, Donnie Myers got his pickles out of the cash register. That's 365 days of campaign, y'all. He's there.
Okay, hang on. John has a comment.
I just want to make one comment about the situation with people who are in jail and can't get out. There are just a lot of people that get arrested for a lot of crimes and don't need to be on the street. Okay? That guy that.
Then prosecute them.
Yeah, the guy that was driving down the road Sunday morning at 10:30 drunk and killed a 6-year-old.
Then prosecute them.
Right, I understand that.
It's that simple.
I do, and
Okay.
look, I do defense work, and I've sit there, I've got cases where people not sitting in jail, but that are 4 or 5 years old, because they hadn't called them for trial. They threatened to call them for trial, and then they never do. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, and they've had some changeover in the solicitor's office. I think they got a better group of prosecutors up there now than they've had in a long time. But there are certain people that don't let illegal aliens, for example. They don't let them out because they're flight risk. You know what? I wish they'd let them out because then they'd fly. I mean, and, you know, but I mean that's really not right. The law says you keep them locked up. But I mean, I give you a good example. I mean, I'm not involved in this particular case, but you had an illegal alien that basically committed a crime on another family of illegal aliens. So this illegal alien's in jail, and that whole family has now a visa as a criminal victim. So they get to stay. I mean, it's just a weird situation.
John, let me make a comment in court. Does anyone see the irony in having one illegal alien have a crime committed on another illegal alien? I mean, does that, something sounds wrong about that?
You need to go back
Both
to
need
the
to go back.
It's been illegal.
But I want to get up in soapbox.
I got a question.
I have a suggestion.
What is the clerk's budget?
Well, you have to understand that I have several budgets, but my total budget is approximately $3 million.
And you reduced it by 35%.
Correct.
So,
And here are my numbers.
so is it 2 now, was it 4.2?
It's about $2 million.
I don't see numbers.
Yeah, you guys see the numbers.
Let me ask you this, reducing the budget that much, thank you very, very much, and you'll obviously.
Ross, what's your question?
My question is, can we get her to be a consultant, to sit with the county council? Would be willing to do that for us?
Be glad to.
Thank you.
You know, it's all about trying to do more with less.
Maybe go set up the state legislature and do some things up there too.
I don't take Mr. James.
Like fire some people?
That is something, I wanted to address that too. I am by far not the highest paid clerk in the state of South Carolina. And, you know, my salary is set by the Association of Counties, as are the other elected officials, because the state does give a small stipend to us, and it's done by a census program. And out of the 10 largest counties in the state, I'm the second lowest paid clerk in the state of South Carolina.
Who's the
And-
lowest?
Anderson County.
Oh, wow.
And I'm the second lowest paid. At $71,714, and the state chips in a gracious $1,575, and here's my pay stub. So, you know, I'm all about transparency, I'm all about honesty. My life is an open book. I bought my passport so you can see that since 2009, I've traveled outside of the United States twice for 4 days. And I brought my rental records for my property in Folly Beach, because I can't possibly spend half my life in Folly Beach when my property's rented out all the time. That simply is not the case. I'm at work, I'm on the job, I'm saving you money, I'm doing what's required and expected of me because I believe in this job and I believe in saving the taxpayers' dollars. And I think that I've earned your respect And I respectfully request that you give me the opportunity to continue the progress that I've started, because there's a lot more to do in Lexington County.
One more question for Beth. Any other questions? Dr. Willis?
Beth, I assume these deadbeat dads that you're putting in jail,
Well, they're deadbeat moms too.
a mom, or either way, spouse, I assume they can pay the payments. That's why you put them in jail. And they just don't.
Well, most of the time. You know, there are instances, and you never know until you pick them up. But we always give everyone an opportunity. That's the story. We don't just run out and beat someone's door in and haul them into jail. They get notice after notice after notice. They get an opportunity, and it's called a rule to show cause. We send them notice and say, come to court, talk to the judge, tell him your circumstances, try to work it out. The judge gives them another opportunity to make the payments. Tell us your circumstances. Have you lost your job? Are you on Social Security disability benefits? Are you on unemployment? What is your set of circumstances? If they don't show up, well, then we issue, you know, a bench warrant, and you're going to jail for just not appearing, failure to
The
appear.
point I'm going at is if they're put in jail, they can't make the payments. I assume they can't work.
You'd be surprised how many people come up with money when they go to jail. And a lot of money. A lot of money when they go to
David's
jail.
got a question.
But Beth, I mean, everybody needs to realize, Beth doesn't put anybody in jail.
No.
Okay?
No, judge does that.
The judge puts
Yeah.
folks in jail. She just provides the paperwork. I mean, everybody's under the assumption that Beth's putting everybody in jail for not paying child support.
No.
That's not true at all, okay? The judge puts them in jail. He makes that decision.
Right, he wears the black robe, he's a lawyer, he weighs the facts, and most judges have a lot of knowledge and experience and a lot of years of expertise in their field. So when they sit there and they weigh, you know, the facts of the case and make a determination, they're not usually too far off the mark. It may not appear at first blush that it's fair, but most of the time, most of the judges are pretty fair about what they do.
Do those judges put them in jail indefinitely if they
No, they
can't
have a
come
term.
up? Okay.
They have a time.
Okay.
And they always can get themselves out by a payment.
Coming up with that, yeah.
Sure.
Well, Beth, thanks for being here today. And let's give her a
And you can always find me at the courthouse, and if you can't find me at the courthouse, somebody there can tell you where to find me.
And Beth, John, you're always welcome to come
And I
back.
vote for you if I live in Lexington.
I learned a lot. A lot of great questions.